Welcome to OK Miniatures. I'm Kay, and today we'll be making a dock out of XPS foam. While a little fragile, the XPS allows for a nice wood texture. If you're interested in alternative materials, Jeremy from Blackmagic Craft made a very good video on the subject. I'm going to start out by cutting some thin strips of foam for planking and some thicker pieces for the main supports of the bridge. Dock, sorry. To get rid of the really nice smooth edges from the knife, I cut some wavy lines along the edges. I found that only cutting partway through and breaking off the foam gave some nice splintered looking edges, although it did make it a little bit harder to get full paint coverage. Before assembling, texture all the foam using a wire brush. It's much easier to texture before things are assembled and there's tight corners to get in, so doing it now makes it easier later. I cut the planks into 2-inch pieces since that's the width of the bridge I decided on. If you want the planks to overhang the edges a little bit, you can always cut them just a little bit longer or change the width of the bridge. I also decided to use a piece of 1/4-inch dowel for the posts, so I roughed up the smooth surface with my knife to give it a older, more rough-hewn look. I cut the wooden posts in 1-inch pieces. My tiles are a 1/2 inch thick, and I decided it looked best to have a bit of post sticking up beyond that. It does work a bit better to cut these with a saw instead of a dull knife. And here I'm cutting the main support pieces. I cut some pieces to be supports between these long pieces, and I decided on making them 1.5 inches wide so that given the pieces put together it'd be a total of 2 inches wide, a little bit about, roughly. And then I glued everything together with PVA. I started with 2 long pieces that ran the entire length of the bridge and then cut 3 supports to connect these pieces. I made the bridges 6 inches long by 2 inches wide so that they'd work nicely with the tiles that I've made. I used some pins to hold the pieces together while I worked with them. If you have pins without the T-heads or whatever they're called, you could leave them in, but I pulled them out since they have these big heads on them. I decided to cut the planks in half to make them a little bit more appropriately sized and so that it'd look better. Then I glued some planks down on the top of this base. Then I went through all the boards and just used a pin to add little nail holes just by poking the pin into into the boards. I marked a 1/2 inch on the posts so that I could align this mark with the top of the dock, and that way the docks would be the same height as my tiles, and also the posts would all be the same height. I used my knife to scratch the outside of the dowels to try add some more wood grain. I don't know if this is really worth the effort, and the results aren't super great. And then I glued the wooden posts on. I forgot to cut out notches for the posts to go, so I quick did that. Once that was dry, I covered everything with Mod Podge to give it an extra layer of durability and also to help hold things together a little bit better. I applied a brown base coat and then dry brushed it with a brown gray mix. I like to use a light gray to lighten my brown paint since it gives a more realistic wood color. Finally, finish it all off with a black wash to tone back those highlights and emphasize the textures. If you like this video, please hit that thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to see more videos like this about terrain building, consider subscribing with notifications turned on so that you see when a new video comes out. If you have any questions or you'd like to see something made, leave a comment down below letting me know. And with that, I'll see you in the future.